This is how it began, and this is how it's going. So this is how it began. This is the video that takes care of the first part.
Feeling like it was a movement and that it wasn't about me was the most convincing aspect. Being like, oh yeah, I'll do this because it's a bunch of crazy people and this will be fun.
Yeah. Because all of you got into this like movement first, that's defined, I mean, your actions since you got elected,
Yeah.
right? And everyone else is like, man, this is weird. Why are you doing this weird stuff? Well, it's because it's a different, you didn't come in.
It's a different start.
Yeah. Yeah. There's so much reaction to the divergence that our actions represent in DC, but really they've been consistent the entire time. It's just that
just
people,
they weren't paying attention.
Right? Yeah, just like the only thing that's changed is that people pay attention now. I've literally been live streaming my life and our political actions since 2016.
Yeah.
I've literally been movement first and accountable to social movements the entire time I've been running for office.
Right.
It's really most people that change, right? Like they get elected and then they're like, okay, campaign's done.
There's a lot of people
That's
in
literally
the Democratic caucus.
When
we are courageous enough to just puncture the silence on an issue, they will start to move. Don't people realize that the most powerful position you can be in is when you are not materially attached to a position of power? If you're a one-term Congress member, so what? You can make 10 years worth of change in one term if you're not afraid.
We've broken this video down many times.
Feeling like it
obviously a sham because this person is unrecognizable today. Okay? So now I do want to play this other video because this is a classic. This is a cult classic I'll play before I get into this is how it started. This is another video showing this is how it started, I guess. And then it kind of transitions into this is how it's going. So this is a cult classic. Let's listen.
Who went to Congress.
Thank you, George Floyd, for sacrificing your life for justice, for being there to call out to your mom. How heartbreaking was that?
All right, so that's kind of how it started with that video, and then we're transitioning to how it's going. So through headlines, let's see how it's going. House votes $1 billion for Israeli war machine without opposition from AOC. Last night, with the help of DSA endorsed Representative Jamal Bowman and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the House of Representatives approved $1 billion in new funding for Israel's Israeli Iron Dome missile interceptors. It's going great, right, guys? Let's see how it's going with another headline. Here's another one. AOC says she would vote to fund Israel's Iron Dome, but has concerns. So if you didn't know, Remember when she was crying on the floor of Congress because of that vote? She changed from no to present on the Iron Dome. After the attack on October 7th, she came out and said she would vote for the Iron Dome funding now. The representative also said discussing support to Israeli defense systems at this time is absolutely legitimate. Supporter of genocide. So if the best you can do, if the best we can do as a left movement is get somebody who's funding and supporting a genocide, maybe we should rethink our strategy here. Let's continue. Here's another one here. There's a very clear danger here. AOC on 2024, the climate crisis and selling out. And here's a snippet along the right side. I'll read from the article. AOC is on a PR tour with corporate media in an attempt to whitewash her betrayals. That's what I said in the tweet. Now here's a quote from the article. From the left, the war in Ukraine is potentially more complicated. Putin's invasion by any means, any measure and affront to morality. But U.S. support for Ukraine has put critics of the military-industrial complex. The government spends more than $9 billion a year on defense, around 50% of the budget, 3% of domestic growth, in the uncomfortable position of rooting for the Pentagon endorsing a windfall for defense contractors. Now, let me say that again if you didn't catch it. I'm going to read it again without what's in the parentheses. U.S. support for Ukraine has put critics of the military-industrial complex in the uncomfortable position of rooting for the Pentagon and endorsing a windfall for defense contractors. That's AOC. That's the Democratic Party. They're the war party now. Longtime skeptics of U.S. imperialism suddenly find themselves aligned with Republican hawks. Bernie Sanders, AOC, and all of the other left, Rokana, who calls himself left. I don't consider him left. Rashida Tlaib. Ocasio-Cortez articulates the uneasy accommodation, and this is a quote from her. It's a legitimate conversation. I think, on the other hand, it is important for us to underscore what a dramatic threat to the global order Russia's invasion of Ukraine is and continues to be. We must defend democracy. We cannot allow this reversion into almost a late 19th century imperial invasion order. It is so incredibly destabilizing and dangerous. We must fight against that precedent. We must protect the democracy of Ukraine and the sovereignty of Ukraine. 100% a bold-faced lie made up word salad from AOC, the supposed anti-war activists. Let's get into a couple more receipts here. Headline: AOC brags about her transformation into a loyal agent of U.S. imperialism. Next headline here: leftists blast AOC for endorsing Biden's re-election, a betrayal of progressive interests. Now let's go to Bernie Sanders' side. Here we go. Bernie Sanders. Like with her, let's start with a video here. Let's start with this video of Bernie Sanders. Here goes Bernie.
DEI, are we confusing equality of opportunity with trying to guarantee equity in outcomes? Okay, that's interesting, because I think this word equity has come into the language in the last few years, and before that we didn't hear it a lot. And I think a lot of people hear equity and they hear equality. That like it's the same word, and it's not the same word and the same concept. So how would you differentiate between equity and equality?
Now, equity and equality are two different things. And I remember a meme I will use as an example, because they also talk about the difference between equity and equality. The picture, let me see, T versus, because that meme, I might get that meme to pop up. And if I can, then I want to show it to you. But the difference between equity and equality, and it does not. Oh yeah, no, it's a different one. All right, so there is some memes on equity and equality, but okay, here's the one I want to use. I did find one. So let me let him say his answer, and that's Bernie Sanders, and then I'm going to show you the right answer. So here's Bernie Sanders answering the question, the difference between equity and equality. Now, I must say, as a person on the left and as a person who's a socialist in particular, equity and equality, these are things you should be able to answer. Let's see what Bernie Sanders says to that.
Between equity and equality.
Well, equality, we talk about, I don't know what the answer to that is. Come to think of it, equality.
I just need to take a breath there. Let's let him continue.
Equality is equality of opportunity. All right. We live in a society, we want all people
Right.
to have whatever color your skin is.
Equity, I think, is more guarantee of outcome, is it not?
I think so. I think that's
okay. So which side do you come down on?
Equality.
Equality.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
DEI.
He has no idea what he's talking about. And you can see it in his face that I'm picking equality because I have no idea what equity even is in this context. What a shame. What a damn shame. Now let's play. Now let's show, not play. Let's show. Where is it? This one here. Here's an example of equality versus equity. Equality is everybody gets the same box to view over this gate. You see the gate here in gray or fence, let's call it the right way. A fence to see the ball game in the background. You have a tall person in the red. You have it looks like a child maybe under 10, and then you have somebody, a small child in a wheelchair. If you have equality, means everybody gets the same size box, regardless of height. How does that help the person who's in a wheelchair? How Bernie Sanders doesn't know this? Let me blow this up. Now, on the right side, equity, which Bill Maher describes as having equal outcomes. Now, equal outcomes for capitalists is very disgusting. It leaves a bad taste in their mouths when they say equal outcomes, because capitalists is all about greed, about not having equal outcomes, about having more than everybody else. That's why when you say having equal outcomes, it's like some sort of, that doesn't hurt my ears when I hear that, but it hurts the ears of Bill Maher. Equal outcomes. God damn it. Gotta be the same as those Negroes over there. No way. So as here, equity, the tall person doesn't need anything to see over the fence. The young person, the 10-year-old, the 8-year-old, let's say, needs 2 boxes. The handicapped person needs a stairs and a platform. That's equity. Providing what's needed to bring everybody to an equal footing is equity. Bernie Sanders not able to even speak to that. Just truly, it's almost a level of disgust that he's not able to speak to that. It's just disgusting. There's no other